Sharp, Lynn, our Lone Star, Sub, Bill. Hello. So, I want to check here, make sure everything's good. Make sure I think the audio is good. Yeah, it looks like it. So, let's see. Where am I going to start? Our money is being just thrown out there for everybody. Like, hey, look, I'm the best prime minister you ever had. Look at all the money I'm going to give you. And yeah, just vote for me in the snap election when it comes up, right? I think that's basically what it comes to, except he's going to be the prime minister of nothing. He's going to trash the country. There's going to be nothing there to run. You're going to run into the ground. Irish. So, why? What's he giving away? Well, let me bring up my studio here. Okay. Let's start with this. So Carney's giving away $660 child benefit payment arriving February 20th, 2026. They've been getting that for all along. But anyways, he's making a statement. What Canadian parents need to know before the deposit date. And you'll see that, okay, so this couple here, they have 3 children. So that's just under $2,000 a month. Happy birthday. Well, thank you, Nip Faye. I share my birthday. I share it with Alex Jones, who's born the same day as me, and also Jerry Seinfeld. I'm happy to be sharing my birthday. I'm privileged to be sharing my birthday with those 2 gentlemen. Some people don't think too highly of Alex Jones, but I think he's funny. And he's on top of his game. So, yeah, anyways, $2,000 for 1 month for a child benefit. I know I might be dating myself here on my birthday, but I remember my parents were getting $15 a month. And they had to make that do. So, let's see. Anyways, he's spreading that out. I'm not going to get into it. I'm going to start reading through all that. It's just anyways, they're getting their benefit $660 per kid, depending on eligibility and income level. So that means that any newcomers into Canada will automatically get it because they're not working. They don't have a job. They didn't come here to work. They came here for the $660 a month child care benefit plus all the other benefits that the Liberals can throw out. Like, well, here's confirms higher CPP payment of $1,533. That's kind of a catchphrase because, you know, he's baiting people, right? Like, not everybody's going to get that money. There's no way. You pay into the CPP. Has he got the purse strings, I guess, on the CPP? Where's it coming from? If you didn't pay into it, how are you going to get more? I don't understand that. New senior driving rules begin February 2026. That's something you might want to look up if you're in that age bracket. I'm not going to get into that. CRA $680 one-time payment arrives in February. February is going to be ka-ching, ka-ching, eh? Who qualifies, when it arrives, and how it works? Well, I bet the new Canadians, or not Canadians, sorry, misspoke, the new arrivals will probably get it. For sure. And the GST credit top-up coming this spring, 2026. Who qualifies and when the payment is coming? Just before the next election is when all these payments will be rolling out. Some sooner this month and some a little later. Anyways, I won't go into that tax-free savings account. But, yeah, he's just throwing the box out there, right? See what, see how many fish you can reel in. Uh, Unfortunately, uh, that's what the liberals do. They buy votes and they import voters. Something like the Democrats are doing in the U.S. They're trashing our healthcare system. We don't have what I would call a healthcare system for Canadians. We have a healthcare system for the new people, the newcomers. They get it. No problem. But you see, speaking of healthcare, we get to wait. Yeah, we can wait. Um, I don't think the new people wait. I think they get first in line. Canadians wait on average more than 65 weeks longer for access to new medicines than Europeans and 90 weeks more than Americans. So everybody goes, oh, that American medical system is so expensive. Oh, nobody can afford to go down or Medicare or medical in the U.S. I think people have their insurance and they pay for it, and we're waiting 90 weeks more, and I think that's generous. It's probably longer than that. So, timely access to new pharmaceuticals in Canada, the United States, and European Union in 2026. The biopharmaceuticals benefit patients and communities, enhancing and extending lives. The process is dynamic as new and improved treatments and cures augment available medications. Across industrialized nations, there is great variation in access to new medicines. This study contributes to the sizable literature documenting the differences in the efficiency in which Health Canada, I hate to put that in the same sentence, Health Canada and efficiency, because they don't belong in the same sentence. The European Medicine Agency and the U.S. Food and Drug Administration approve new drugs. Health Canada has historically required more time than the FDA or the EMA to approve new medicines. Didn't take them too long to prove that COVID shot, though, did it? No siree, they were right on top of that. This study provides a Canada-centric drug-by-drug comparison, examining drug approvals to measure the lag and differences in approval efficiency. In addition, this study uses submission dates to show that they are the most significant contributor to the difference in the speed of access to medicines. Of the 194 drugs approved both in Canada and the United States between 2019-2020 and 2024-25, the FDA granted approval an average of 636 days earlier, a median of 371 days, then Health Canada for drugs subject to standard review. Of the 174 drugs approved in both the European Union and Canada between 2019-20 and 24-25, the EMA granted approval earlier by an average of 459 days. Then Canada. Within the existing system, Canadians experience worse health outcomes, access fewer therapeutic options, and face higher healthcare costs as a direct result of the mismanagement and delays in the drug approval processes. Canadians would benefit from fewer delays and more timely access to medicines under the drug approval systems of the US or the EU. Well, that's not really news. It's information that we're screwed. I don't think our government really cares that much about natural-born Canadians anymore, because most of the natural-born Canadians ain't going to vote for them. There's a few, too many El Bozos out there that will. So, and that was from the Fraser Institute. Pretty reliable source. So, and that was from February the 10th, 2026. So it's pretty much up to date. So we had that, and take that off. I want to find what else I had on here before I get into the waste of money. Lots of it. Lots to go around, that's for sure. Okay, clear that off. Working my way through here. We give money everywhere. You seen where it's going spread out to everybody in the country to try to get a vote one way or the other. Everybody might get a few crumbs. They might not get all of that. Definitely not. Won't get all of it. But everybody gets that little bit. Hey, just dangle the worm, right? That's what he's up to. Meanwhile, over in Ukraine, yeah, Ukraine, the money pit. What's going on there? Oh, surprise, surprise, not surprised. Ex-energy minister in corruption scandal arrested while trying to leave the country. Ukraine. The Midas case concerns an alleged $100 million scheme at the state atomic agency tied to senior officials and a former associate of President Zelensky. And there we have something we'd all like to have. Bags of money. Suitcases full of money. Guy's trying to skip the country with that. Kind of hard to smuggle that out, isn't it? But he was on his way. Authorities have targeted lawmakers, former Prime Minister Yulia Tymoshenko, and a former presidential advisor over various charges. Ukrainian anti-corruption detectives have detained a former energy minister as part of a wide-ranging probe that sparked a political crisis last November over a high-level graft. The National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine said, man, they must be busy. The so-called Midas case centers on an alleged $100 million kickback scheme at the state atomic agency that ensnared a number of senior officials and business elites, including a former associate of President Volodymyr Zelensky. Today, is it Nabu or Nabu? Well, they nabbed him, so maybe it's Nabu. Detectives detained a former minister of energy while crossing the state border within the framework of the Midas case. Nabu said in its statement on Sunday, priority investigative actions are ongoing, which are being carried out in accordance with the requirements of the law. The agency said more details would come and did not name the individual. Ukraine's previous two energy ministers had resigned amid the fallout from the scandal, which also claimed the job of Zelensky's chief of staff. And in that pile of cash, I know it's US dollars, don't worry, Ukraine never accepted any Canadian dollars. It was exchanged for US dollars. So yes, that would be some of our cash probably in that pile. So yeah, Carney sure knows how to spread it around, doesn't he? And so did Trudeau. Now, waste of money. We have this one here is kind of a funny layout on this channel here, but anyway, we'll go with it. It's Yahoo Finance. Opinion. Ottawa's EV obsession knows no fiscal bounds. More money down the drain. Ottawa's strategy for building cars of the future is a hollow promise, as there can be no future for the EV model until engineering breakthroughs provide serious energy storage. Ottawa has more than $50 billion worth of investments, in quotations, in electric vehicles, EVs, and battery adventures to date apparently were not enough to placate the EV faithful. With Prime Minister Mark Carney's launch of a bluster-filled new strategy to, quote, transform Canada's auto industry. We're being hit up yet again for even more billions to recalibrate Ottawa's demonstrably failed EV and battery schemes. Ottawa's record-setting deficit of $78.3 billion. I know it's Canadian billions, but it's, to us, it's kind of like, we treat it like real money anyways. For the current fiscal year, the largest in Canadian history, will now grow even more. Though we have all paid dearly for the first round, circa 2022, of Ottawa's mandate-driven machinations for transforming Canada's auto industry, that should be for destroying Canada's auto industry, our central banker turned Prime Minister is now following up with round two, apparently still oblivious to how markets are clearly signaling a rapidly accelerating shift from EVs to hybrids. But hard facts are never enough to stop our EV clairvoyants and their check-writing brethren. Whatever automotive oomph Ottawa can summon will not likely be enough to trigger a sectoral transformation in a sector where since the early 2000s, systemic weakness has led to structural decline. What blocks the Ontario automotive transformation so many governments and lobbyists have dreamt of for so long is the absence of the transformative technical breakthroughs that could trigger critical competitive advantages. And what blocks them is, at least in part, ingrained Canadian risk aversion. An alternative mindset, one based on prudent risk-taking, is illustrated by a story from 1932 when Henry Ford ordered his engineers to make a V8 engine block in a single-piece casting. Many of them argued it was impossible. Ford persisted and was rewarded with a significant, as we like to say these days, game-changing competitive advantage. Many of his competitors eventually followed. We should learn from this. As a long-term risk-averse commodity assembler, Ontario's auto sector gradually accumulated self-inflicted vulnerabilities, overly emphasizing auto production through advanced manufacturing enabled by the likes of next-generation manufacturing. The sector largely failed to foster breakthrough, engineering-driven product innovation. This gradually neutralized its competitiveness. Emphasis on production rather than product kaizen, the Japanese business philosophy focused on continuous incremental improvements. Gee, the Japanese do make sense. Exacted a price. Hobbled in this way, the sector capitulated to politically driven but lucrative electrification nonsense. It has not worked out well, yet inexplicably Ottawa is still hell-bent on perpetuating its EV folly. This senseless policy vector is best revealed by Project Arrow, now in its second iteration, which is currently showboating at the Canadian International Auto Show in Toronto. Initiated by the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association, it's an all-Canadian effort to design, engineer, and build a Canadian EV that answers our past Prime Minister's call for a zero-emission future by 2050. Oh, our past Prime Minister parading this clunky, hopelessly out-of-date EV prototype on an international stage comes across as an ill-advised public relations exercise, exposing Ottawa as seriously out of step with market and technical realities with this shingle Mr. Carney good luck hustling new trade partners. Combining our already preposterously large deficit, new automotive transformation promises plus new multi-billion-dollar funding rounds we may never hear about, our former central banker is driving us straight towards sovereign insolvency. Ottawa's refreshed strategy for building cars of the future is a hollow promise. There can be no sustainable fiscal, technical, or market future for the EV model until engineering breakthroughs first provide the technology for serious energy storage. Transformation rightly belongs in the hands of the private sector, where markets, not politicians, bureaucrats, and oil and gas haters, determine demand. Ottawa completely ignores this fundamental free market precept in its imprudent rush to net zero nirvana. Michael Nightforce, founder and president of Toronto-based Air Lab Inc. That was his article. I'd say it was bang on. So the EV scandal, it's going to go down in the annals of history as another liberal kerfuffle that cost us billions and billions of dollars. And Carney will be riding off into the sunset with those big bags of money, just like that Russian tried to do, right? Only Carney won't be carrying the bags out. It's already gone out of the country. So, can't say we weren't warned. It just seems that uh, it just seems people just didn't want to pay attention to it because they think that the elbows up is being tough, and we got to show our neighbors to the south that we're the boss. And we're going down, folks. We were warned, and I'm sure you've seen this lady before saying her piece. Who's the guy singing from Spuds and Bia? Stompin' Tom O'Connor from Skinner's Pond. I've been to Skinner's Pond too. Yeah, I seen Stompin' Tom's house. We were fishing lobster over there. Those were the days. Okay, we were warned. This lady even came to Canada and warned us, do not elect that guy into power. This is in the National Post. Carney did a terrible job as Bank of England governor, says former British PM. See the comparison to Carney then and now. I don't see much change. Liz Truss, who served as the MP for only 49 days, blames the Liberal leader for creating many of the problems that occurred while she was in office. Liz Truss, the shortest serving Prime Minister in British history, said Mark Carney did a terrible job as the Bank of England governor and blamed him for a lot of the problems that led to her quick departure from 10 Downing Street in 2022, even though he'd resigned 2 years earlier. She was in the aftermath. That's what's going to happen when we get a change in government here. Whoever goes in, if it's Polyev or whoever, going to have to deal with his mess he's making, the corruption. She also said Canadians need to wake up to the threats that he and Liberal policies present. Speaking on U.S. podcaster Glenn Beck's show on March 22nd, former Conservative Party leader was reflecting on her resignation from office after 49 days amid an economic crisis sparked by a mini budget with big taxes and promises of increased borrowing that her government rolled out to address the rising cost of living. What's going on here, folks? The same thing. Increased borrowing to address the rising cost of living. That's where Mark Carney's getting the money for all these gifts of cash he's handing out to everybody. He's borrowing the money. He's taking us down. Carney, who led the central bank from 2013 to 2020, came up as Truss was calling out the network mode of people who forced her to undo the measures, which had caused the UK pound to drop to its lowest ever rate against the US dollar. Asked about the World Economic Forum, she said it's a breeding ground for those types. People who believe in wokeism, environmental extremism, big government, high taxation, and labeled Carney a regular. Mark Carney was the governor of the Bank of England who printed money to a huge extent, creating inflation, she said, referencing the policymakers' decision to reactivate a money printing program in response to Brexit-related risks it had publicly warned about. He was the one who created the pensions crisis. You getting this? In the first place, by not regulating the pensions industry properly, she suggested. He's dabbling in our pensions now, right here. He can't keep his fingers out of our pensions. This guy is a crook. Days after the disastrous mini-budget, massive sell-off of government bonds threatened long-driven investment funds and forced the Bank of England to save the UK pension fund from collapse with a massive purchase program. They almost destroyed their pensions. She went on to suggest that Carney is among the cohort who move in and out of the financial sector and don't believe in actually representing the interests of the electorate. Surprise, surprise. Put your elbows down, you clowns. They fundamentally believe that government should be run by experts who know best, which is them and their friends. They do not believe that democracy is a bottom-up thing. Later in the show, Beck turned the conversation back to Canada by asking Truss what happens to Canada under Carney. She admitted to being puzzled by his rise to power within the Liberal Party without being elected, something she feels is illegitimate. He did a terrible job in Britain of the governorship of the Bank of England. He created a lot of problems that blew up on my watch and that I got blamed for were actually created by him. So he cuts and runs is what he did. In her view, woke policies, high taxes, high spending, and an unwillingness to use natural resources have caused European economic growth to fall behind the US, and Justin Trudeau caused similar issues in Canada. Mark Carney has been the advocate of these policies, so I don't know what is going on in Canada. But in the same way as I think people in Britain need to wake up to what the real threat to our country is, I think we need to wake up in Canada. Now, this is an older article. It says, with Election Day approaching on April 28th, Carney was campaigning in Toronto on Thursday. So, I'm just afraid that there's a lot of Canadians that just aren't going to wake up. I was talking to a guy on Friday, and he said, I just don't trust Pierre. He's too Trumpian. I knew right away the guy was a CBC watcher. As soon as he said, too Trumpian, Trump is boogeyman in Canada, right? He's the scapegoat for the Liberals. This guy showed himself right away as soon as he said that. So, the pension funds. Pension funds should be pretty much hands off. I know they have to be invested, but they should be careful where they're investing them. Because Maple Leaf Pension Fund suspends future investments with DP World over Epstein ties. Pension fund holds stakes in several of DP's assets. Country's second largest pension fund, LaCaisse, is pausing all future capital deployment with global port operator DP World following revelations about the relationship between the company's CEO and chairman Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem and convicted offender Epstein, as reported by Bloomberg. The $496 billion pension fund is the first of DP World's global partners to halt deals with the logistics group following the publication of messages between bin Sulayem and Epstein, according to the Financial Times, while the case is one of its biggest investment partners. Benefits and Pensions Monitor has reached out to LaCaisse for comment. We've made it clear to the company that we expect it to shed light on the situation and take the necessary actions, a LaCaisse spokesperson said in an emailed statement to Bloomberg. Until then, we are pausing additional capital deployment alongside the company. The messages released by the U.S. Department of Justice show the two men exchanged intimate and unguarded correspondence for more than a decade after Epstein's 2008 conviction on charges that included making money off of minors. According to both outlets, the messages reveal the men exchanged contacts in business and politics, attempted to broker deals for one another, and made explicit references to sexual encounters. Bin Sulayem wrote frequently about visiting Epstein's private Caribbean island and even assisted the financier in exploring plans for a private resort. Bloomberg reported would make their own island. LaCaisse stressed it was important to distinguish the company, DP World, from the individual, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, according to the Financial Times. I guess he has just recently vacated his space, the Sultan. The pension fund holds significant stakes in several DP World assets, including a 45% interest in the Canadian subsidiary. Bloomberg reported in 2016, the two parties announced commitments totaling $3.7 billion for a platform investing in ports and terminals globally. In 2022, La Caisse invested $5 billion in three of DP World's flagship UAE assets, including the Jebel Ali port in Dubai, the largest in the Middle East, according to Financial Times. More recently, DP World signed a joint venture with La Caisse for the Port of Montreal's future 2.3 billion Canadian terminal expansion in Contresor, a project identified as one of the first major proposals under Prime Minister Mark Carney's infrastructure agenda. The Financial Times reported. Well, that kind of sucks for Carney, doesn't it? DP World and Ben Sulayem have repeatedly declined to comment on the matter. Dubai's royal family oversees the state-owned company. All of La Caisse's investments with DP World are in port projects, not the parent company, a spokesman for the fund confirmed to Bloomberg. There's a lot of dirty deals going on out there, isn't there? You know? So, kind of hard to keep up with them. Remember this. Well, first of all, I'm going to jog your memory. Remember, not too long ago, when the government of Canada had everybody in the House of Commons, all 338, stand up and cheer. I think he was 98-year-old SS commander from Ukraine, brought into the House of Commons for applause, recognition as a brave fighter. Yeah, I remember that, and I'm sure most of you do too. So, that didn't go unnoticed. That didn't go unnoticed around the world. And this one here is a short video here. It's about a 3-minute video. This just came out. When was this video? I think it was today. No, it came out yesterday.
And regarding
try to bring this back here. Stop it. Hang on. Bear with me, folks. Please give me a hard time. Okay, I'll just let it go from here. Russia. Mother Russia is speaking out against Canada.
Alice's statement. Here's another story, one that is about both the present day and about contemporary times, as well as about the events of World War II. Of course, historical memory is an amazing thing. Some peoples carefully preserve every piece of evidence regarding the crimes of Nazism so that such a thing never happens again. But others, or more precisely, certain regimes in specific countries, prefer to carefully pack this memory into top-secret envelopes with the hope that they will never be opened. The Liberal government of Mark Carney confidently leads the second category. As it became known, the Office of the Information Commissioner of Canada supported the position of the Federal Library and Archives Service not to disclose the list of hundreds of Nazi criminals and collaborators who found refuge in the country of the maple leaf. We are talking about the list of the Jules Deschênes Commission, which in 1986 to 1987 established. After the Second World War, Canada became a haven for about 800 Nazis and their henchmen, people involved in murders, genocide, and service in the Schutzstaffel. That is, these are all those who perpetrated the Holocaust. The state of Canada hid them. 40 years have passed. It would seem that all statutes of limitations, both moral and legal, should have expired, but it turns out that disclosing this information is allegedly forbidden. What arguments does Canada use to defend the Nazis? A masterpiece of modern Western political rhetoric. I can tell you, it is a complete disconnect from reality. The publication of the names, as this direct quote claimed, will cause damage to international relations, and even also a direct quote, have a detrimental effect on the defense of a foreign state allied to Canada. Guess which one? Today's Banderite Ukraine, which has built its policy precisely on neo-Nazism. Let's translate from Canadian bureaucratic speak into Russian. If they publish the truth that executioners from the 14th Waffen Grenadier Division of the Schutzstaffel Galicia lived there, it will confirm the Russian arguments and harm the current Kiev regime, which glorifies the collaborators of the Third Reich. The problem is not that these criminals lived or live in Canada, but in something else. It will become common knowledge regarding the concealment of Nazis, and this will be confirmed by ironclad documentary evidence. Furthermore, the threads will lead to the current authorities, because they were not only concealed, but from them future generations of administrators were raised, who were intended to bring these notes of neo-Nazism into modern international relations. Instead of admitting it and saying, yes, there was such a dark page in Canada's history, and we could say, the Canadian authorities, we condemn it. Ottawa declares the truth to be simultaneously a state secret and a threat. Canadian authorities hide behind the screen of some kind of national security. What is the national security in this? In saying that they hid Nazis with blood on their hands, and that from these neo-Nazis, they molded the so-called future elite of Canada? What kind of security can be built on lies and the lives of murdered people and tortured children? What kind of moral authority is possible with such doublethink? Such an approach insults the memory of all those who gave their lives in the struggle against the brown plague of the 20th century. Let us recall that Canada was part of the anti-Hitler coalition, and the fight against Nazism then was a common cause. Within the framework of the Lend-Lease program, Canadian participants of the Arctic convoys delivered large volumes of aluminum, ammunition, and military equipment, as well as food, to Murmansk and Arkhangelsk. The 3rd Canadian Infantry Division, during the landing in Normandy on June 6, 1944, successfully captured Juno Beach and advanced deep into France. In the same year, Canadian troops distinguished themselves in the Italian campaign, breaking through the powerful Hitler line, and by 1945 played a key role in the liberation of the Netherlands. If there are any decent people left in the leadership of Canada, I am asking, just in case, let it be a rhetorical question, it is their duty to declassify this list of the Jules Deschênes Commission. This is not being done, as they say, for Russian propaganda. This is being done for historical memory, for the hygiene of conscience, so that even if it is moss-covered, it might still have the opportunity in Canada to raise its voice. This is so that Canadians know not only about the feats of their ancestors on the battlefields of the Second World War, but also about those whom the authorities of their country sheltered after this war. Why must this be done? Because it kills the memory of those Canadians who fought on the right side of history, fought against Nazism and fascism, and finished off the Third Reich. As long as this list remains under lock and key, the shadow of complicity falls not on the dead criminals, but on the currently living politicians who are covering for them. They are in Canada, they are in power, like that very Chrystia Freeland, who was the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Canada, and then the Deputy Prime Minister, the granddaughter of a hamster.
Well, I'm kind of speechless. It was kind of refreshing to hear after bringing one into the House of Commons. And, let's see. Do you... Do you remember this image of Freeland with the banner for the Azov Battalion in Ukraine, her roots, her Grampy's roots, her grandpa, that was a sympathizer. The Russians know, they're spelling it. They know what they're talking about. There's and what else? I see that's still playing on now. I do have a delay. So, yeah. Some of this stuff is coming out. But you won't see that on the news here in Canada, of course. There's no way. So, there are some good politicians out there, right? Gee, I say I got a big delay on here. Anyways, I'm going to give this a minute, and then I'm going to bring up this other article once I see this other one come up. And there she is. Okay. Now, for the good guys, we actually had member of Parliament from my province. I'm proud of this guy. I'm really proud of this guy. MP Dawson shows leadership by rejecting pay raise. The Canadian Taxpayers Federation, this is Franco Terrazzano wrote this, is applauding Member of Parliament Mike Dawson for rejecting the April 1 politician pay raise. Dawson is showing real leadership and proving he is a true champion for taxpayers by turning down the upcoming MP pay raise, said Franco Terrazzano, CTF Federal Director. It takes courage to stand alone and do the right thing, and Dawson is showing real guts to turn down his pay raise. Here's something Dawson needs to remember. He may be alone on this issue in the House of Commons, but thousands and thousands of taxpayers across Canada are standing with him. Today, Dawson published a letter he wrote to the House of Commons instructing the government to make the necessary arrangements with the payroll and benefits administration so he doesn't receive the April 1st MP pay raise at a time when everyday Canadians are struggling to keep up with the rising cost of living. I cannot in good conscience accept the pay raise increase of nearly $10,000, which every member of Parliament is set to receive. Dawson wrote, it is frankly distasteful that parliamentarians are set to receive a raise while the working man and woman in this country hasn't seen a decent raise in decades. MPs give themselves a pay raise every year on April 1st. CTF estimates MP pay will increase by about 4.2% this year based on the government's wage data. Using this data, the CTF estimates this year's pay raise will amount to an extra $8,800 for backbench MPs, $13,000 for ministers, and $17,600 for their poor, financially strapped prime minister. After this year's pay raise, backbench MPs will receive $218,600 annual salary, according to CTF estimates. The minister will collect $322,700, and prime minister will take $437,200 in his pocket. Dawson is proving he understands the struggles facing Canadian taxpayers, and all MPs should follow his leadership and cancel the upcoming MP pay raise, Terrazano said. Prime Minister Mark Carney told Canadians to brace for sacrifices, so the least politicians could do is stop stuffing their own wallets with more taxpayers' money. The Leger poll shows 79% of Canadians opposed the MP pay raise in 2025, 80% opposed it in 2024, 80% in 2023, and 79% in 2022. Federal government stopped the automatic MP pay raises from 2010 to 2013. So, yeah. Okay. Carrying right on. I got more stuff. I just have to get back to the top to find it. We had a, it was a terrible incident in Tumbler Ridge. I'm not gonna go too much into that. It's all over the news. Not that I would have any new information or anything. So we do have though from Billboard Chris. Where's my studio? Come back here. Okay. From Billboard Chris. This is the young girl. Maya is still fighting for her life. Please keep her in your prayers. This is a little girl gets shot twice. Once in the head and once in the neck. The poor little girl. She's coming around. Probably remarkably well for what happened to her. Update from her mom, day 3. Not a huge update. Swelling is going down. The doctor keeps layering on the worst news ever. I put my foot down. I cannot hear the worst of the worst every hour. Not when I see change. There's still such a long road for my Maya Moon. There is still a piece of the round in her. There's still shards in her brains. She still cannot breathe on her own. The future is so unknown. I love you to the moon and back, my baby. All the stars in the sky. And of course, there's a transgender, but they don't want to talk about that because that's too much truth in there, right? So, that's terrible. We got another one here. If I can find them, maybe not. Okay, I have to go back. I have to go to here to my bookmarks. I'm just gonna play. Well, first I'll go down here because poor Maya, but we have this young fella here. It's another victim. Say his name. Rest in peace. Today we are holding space for Emmett Jacobs, 11 years old, whose life was lost in tragic events in Tumbler Ridge, BC, Canada, February 10th, 2026. Just 11 years old, a child, a young boy who should have had many more birthdays ahead of him. By now, we know all the details of the story. May not know all the details of the story, but we know this. He mattered. His life had value. He was someone's child, someone's family, someone who was loved. 11-year-old boy should be thinking about school projects, games, sports, friends, and what he wants to be when he grows up. He should still be here. Today we honor Emmett with dignity. We speak his name. We hold space for those grieving him and for every family whose lives have been forever changed. Please join us by leaving and saying Emmett in the comments so his name remains visible and remembered. Rest peacefully, Emmett. You were loved, you mattered, you will not be forgotten. There's little Emmett there. It's just so sad. So sad. And you know what? The government and the media should be wearing this. They're the ones pushing it. So, I gotta go back over here again. But we do have this from Mark Miller. Got a statement from Mark Miller. Mark Miller says, I am deeply disturbed by the reports of an individual targeting a downtown Montreal mosque. No one should feel unsafe at their place of worship. My heart is with our Muslim neighbors today. We must continue to stand united against all forms of hate and Islamophobia. You go, Mark. Tom Quiggin, he said, any views on the 100 churches attacked in Canada there, Mark? Mark, buddy? Of course not. They don't care about Christians. They care about Islam. The new Canadians. The replacement. That's who they care about. Their voters. And we have this. Speaking of our newcomers, it's a short one. It's 39 seconds.
In April 2025, it was reported that a Mexican national with alleged cartel ties crossed into Canada through an unofficial port of entry, then claimed refugee. A decade earlier, this individual told an undercover BC RCMP officer that he had worked as a hitman for hire. At one point, he was also arrested for possession of a controlled substance. If this person were to claim refugee status, is it your understanding that he would be eligible for Canadian taxpayer-funded health care under the interim federal health program?
While the claim is being adjudicated? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, no problem, eh? Yeah. Welcome to Canada. Come on in. Oh, you're a hitman. Wow. Huh. And I'm sure it's more on there I want to look at. Yeah, I do. This one here from Illuminatabot. Put handle. Peter John Douglas, former UN chief, founder of UNICEF, was arrested on the big R charges in Nepal. 2 young children were rescued from his custody. He was awarded the Order of Canada for his work with disadvantaged children. Isn't that something? No. Hey? There he is, hugging some little boy. Who knows what that little boy's been through. So, no surprise. Nazis, perverts, Islamists, cartels. Quite a country we got, isn't it? Run by liberals. People love their liberals for some reason. I can never figure that one out. I just don't know why, but they do. So, I don't know how we're going to get out of it. This is, actually, this is Ryan Garrettson. This is part of the problem here, folks. Ryan Garrettson posted this. Ryan says, it's just a reminder that CBC is complicit in pushing out identity confusion to children. This little clip here, it's from the CBC Kids channel. Some days I'm a girl, some days I'm a boy. I do not want my tax dollars funding this programming. I'm with you, Ryan, 100%, buddy. And here's what the CBC is teaching the kids.
I love to run and play basketball with my friends. And I like to get dirty. But I am not a boy. I'm a girl. I like to play basketball too. I like to play dress up and wear dresses and put jewelry on. I want my hair to grow down to my toes. I was born a boy, but I am a girl. I like to put jewelry on too. That's so much fun. Some days I'm a girl, some days I'm a boy. I like playing with dolls and I'm great at playing soccer. Now this is my favorite part. I am loved. I am happy. I am everything in between. My gender does not define who I am. Whoever you are and whoever you choose to be, know that you are beautiful, brave, smart, and awesome. And I think you're awesome too. I love to run.
Yeah, okay. I think that person should be in prison for child abuse. Mass child abuse. Not just one little boy or girl. This is massive. This is across the country. I'd say prison. You know how they get dealt with in prison, those types of people. That's where they belong. And we're paying for it because it's funded by the government, and the government supports it, and, well, you know what I mean. But, here you go. I'm going to have to show you this one. Our favorite prime minister, if you're a liberal. This malignant narcissist who ruined the lives of millions, destroyed a country with his terrible policy, was found guilty of violating the Charter of Rights of Canadians, buys himself a 5,000 square foot, $4.26 million house, is a slap in the face to all of us. And there's the jerk there. He ripped us off, ruined the country, and there he is, living a good life. What a disgusting sack of crap. That's what happens to them when they're done stealing and destruction, and they just ride off into the sunset with lots of money in accounts somewheres, and they're untouchable. Nothing ever happens. I think this one here might have a hard time skating. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I've talked to a lot of people that are, well, you know, why they're trying to take certain things from certain people and why certain people aren't happy about it. And, well, you know, right? The roof needs changing. That could be the lighting. I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, I'm going to end it with well, there's this one here from Canada Proud. I'll show you this one, then we're going to go to a little humor. Canada Proud. Try this next time you're talking to a liberal. Describe Bill C-15, but tell them Trump's doing it. Once they start calling him a dictator, Tell them that you lied. This is actually one of Mark Carney's bills. Watch your heads explode. Tell them Donald Trump's trying to pass a new law that would allow him to exempt any of his friends from all non-criminal national laws. Just kidding. We just described Mark Carney and his new bill C-15. That would make their heads explode, wouldn't it? A little video here. I like my critters. This is 1 minute long. Bring this up for you. It's a doggy. I like dogs. It's a doggy video. You might have seen this one, but maybe not. Here we go. Yeah. Dogs are a blast. Okay. So, there's a few things for you to think about. Canada and their secrets on the ex-German military from the 40s and living the luxury life here in Canada and being honored after all these years in the House of Commons, and the Russians aren't too happy about that. Plus, they're feeding the Azov battalion with our money. Remember, Putin said he was going to denazify Ukraine, and everybody said, "Oh, it's it's an excuse or something." No, he was going after the Azov battalion, and we're supplying them with weapons. So it's a good state of affairs. See, we're on the crap list with Russia right now. They don't even want us to have our bird guns. To go ducks, go get some ducks. Don't even want us to be able to do that. So I don't know. I just don't know what to think, actually, because hey, it's called snap election. Might get a majority. That's the end of the country. If we get an election and they get tossed out, the opposition goes in as a minority, not going to get anything done. If they go in with the majority, do you think they'd release those files? I don't think so. I think they're going to be buried, just like the COVID files, buried for 15 years. Why are they hiding those? What's there to hide? It was all good, safe and effective. Why would they hide it? Because we're being lied to, steady, daily, hourly. We gotta look at the other nations rather for our information. Thankfully, like I say, Russia was on this, and they put that video out, and people will say, "Oh, you're a Russian agent." No, I'm a truth agent. I want to know what's going on. So, thank you for joining in for our live stream. And it's always great to see you all on here, and we will do it again next week. I'm going to go have a piece of birthday cake. Bye for now. God bless.